Hello everyone. I am here today and I'm going to show you a an add-on for Google Sheets called ConvertPlus. And what this add-on does is allows you to use numbers with units, commonly referred to as physical quantities, in your spreadsheet calculations without with ease. So I'll just get started. If you're unfamiliar how to add an add-on to Google Sheets, if you come up here and click Add-on and Get Add-ons, it'll bring up a menu like so, and I'm going to search for Convert Plus. It's the name of the add-on. I search for it, and this is the Convert Plus add-on. I've already installed it, but there's a button to the right, and you can install it using that button. So anyway, we'll get started. As you can guess, this program does unit conversions, and you might say, wait, well, Google already has a conversion function, so let's go ahead and try Google's convert function on these quantities that we have. So we're going to do 1 mile to yards for the first one. And you get the right answer. And pull that down, and you can see for the most part it works, but it can't handle miles per hour to meters per second, which is something Google unit system can't handle. So these are compound units. They're made up of two different units, each of them, and those aren't able to be handled with just the plain convert function. So let's try the QConvert function. So QConvert is the equivalent of the Google Sheets convert function. Slight differences. It takes the input for the starting unit as a range, with the left column being the value and the right column being the units, and then it converts to a second unit. And you can see we get the same answer using that. So I'm going to note one thing. I do have to modify some of these a little bit. So one thing to note is that prefixes on units need to be put in brackets, because that's the way it recognizes them. It's more computationally efficient to do it that way. And another thing to mention is that not all the units have the same name as they did for the convert function. So for the convert plus add-in, this is a farad and this is a coulomb, and so those can't be used. Those aren't available in Google Sheets actually, and so actually the degree F is Fahrenheit and the degree C is degrees Celsius. So now if we do the same thing as we did before with the convert function, we should get all the right answers, and you can see it also worked for the compound units, miles per hour and meters per second. So you might be asking, what are the units we can use? So if you go to the Start menu, there's a Reference tab. Give it a sheet name, and it should generate a unit reference here. And so this kind of goes through a small example, and then over here you have descriptions of all the units that are available and their symbol. And any of these symbols can be used with any of these prefixes. Typically they're only used with SI units, but sometimes maybe you want to use a kilomile, I don't know. Anyway, you can see there's quite a few. It lists whether it's available in the vanilla Google Sheets convert function or not. And you can see a lot of them aren't. So the speed of light, the gravitational constant, or the standard gravity at the surface of the Earth is not available. Bars, inches of mercury, and then quite a few electromagnetical units that aren't available. So amp, coulomb that we went over before, elementary charge, a volt, ohms, farads, anything you might use if you're an electrical engineer. Okay, so let's go back to the original thing. So you can see that it's what I've shown you so far. Maybe I could make the case that it's slightly more useful than Google Sheets when it comes to conversions, but maybe you're not fully convinced. So um, the next thing that ConvertPlus allows you to do is use units and do operations on them, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So yeah, let's have a look real quick. So same as before, we had Q add. So we're going to try to add these 10 kilometers to 20 leagues. That to that. As you can see, that works, and it gives us a resultant unit, which is pretty handy, right? And so same with the subtract. So 1 mile and 1.61 kilometers, which should be roughly the same, so should almost get 0. So let's try it out. Q sub. And you can see we get almost 0 in miles. And if I were to, so for add and subtract, it just converts it to the unit that you give it for the first operation. Multiply and divide work in the same way, except they always give you a resultant output in SI base units. So let's give that a try. So the first function, we're going to try to multiply 1 acre by 1 foot, which is a volume, as acre is an area and volume is a length. So let's try that. Q mul for multiply. And let's multiply those two units. And you can see we get a volume in meters cubed. And like I mentioned before, it is in SI units. So what if we wanted to convert that to something else? So what we can do then is say we want it in acre foot, because that would make sense to have acres times feet in acre feet. So what we can do is chain functions together. So I can do the Q convert first, and then Q mul, multiply these two values, and then I'm going to convert the output of that operation into acre feet. And you can see 1 acre times 1 foot is 1 acre foot, which is not surprising. I'm also going to do division. So the resistance in a conductor can be calculated by dividing the voltage across that conductor by the current flowing through it. So 120 volts divided by 0.5 amps. Let's see what that gives us. Q div. And as you can see, 240 ohms. This is the SI base unit for an ohm. So this is kind of ugly. So let's convert it explicitly to ohm, just so we know that we're doing is correct. So Q convert, Q div, this, and error. Split on undefined. Did I do something wrong? Oh, I put it in the wrong bracket. There you go. So 240 ohms. Okay, great. One last operation that I want to show you, and that is the raising something to a power. So now I want to calculate the power dissipated in the same conductor that we used up here. So 120 volts, 240 ohms, and the formula for that is V squared over R. So we could do that. I'm going to go ahead and convert it to watts first, because I know that's the resultant unit of that operation. And so then we're going to do Q pow, which is the raised to a power operation, 120 volts to the second power, and then 240 ohms. Oh, sorry. Oh, I need a Q div outside of this, don't I? So Q div, Q pow. Okay, there we go. And this should be 240 ohms. Oh, come on. So this is 240 ohms, and we're going to convert it to watts. And as you can see, we get the answer is that there's 60 watts, which is handy. And of course, if I wanted to know that in horsepower, for instance, I could get it in that unit instead, and it'll automatically convert it for me. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. There is one last thing to show you if you're interested, and that is so far you've seen calculations that involve unit, magnitude, and unit side by side in two cells, and that's normally how this program operates, or how these Q convert function operate. However, sometimes you might have a different format where the unit isn't nicely laid out side by side with the magnitude. So there is a second version of all the functions that we've gone over. So convert, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and power, that compares that allows you to break up the magnitude in the unit. And so I'll show you that real quick. So Q convert 2. And so now we can see that we have magnitude and units divided up. And so I want to go 10 foot, and I'm going to make that a fixed cell, and then I want to convert to this in meters, so E25. And now you can see I get my conversions, and they use a different location than right next to it for the units. Okay, and of course, if I want to do yards, or if I want to do miles, or if I want to do, micro inches, I can do that. So that is basically an overview of how ConvertPlus works. So if this looks useful to you, head on over to your Google Sheets and click on add-ins and then install it up. All right, thanks guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.